Welcome to CISO's Insiders Podcast, powered by GRC Consulting. In this podcast, we'll be interviewing leading CISOs and security leaders in the industry for light, eye-level conversations. Here, they share advice and tips, talk about their biggest accomplishments and failures, favorite drinks, key influencers, and much more. We encourage you to walk away with at least one insight that will help you better yourself or your business. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more content, please check us out on social media.
So welcome. Today we'll be speaking with Kfir Tzukrel. He is the Chief Information Security Manager of a company called Direct Finance. It's actually, I think, one of the largest, if not the largest, financing company in Israel. They mostly deal with all kinds of finance deals around cars and maybe like private loans and stuff like that. Maybe could Kfir give a few words about that. I've known Kfir for probably 7 years now. We got to know each other during his work as a consultant, and about 3.5 years ago, he assumed the role of the Chief Information Security Officer with Direct Finance, and he's been with them ever since, building up their security program, working with vendors and customers and colleagues alike. And yeah, Kfir, if you want to give like a quick intro about yourself, your experience, and so on.
Yeah. Hi there, everybody. So I've started in my way in the cyber world in 2013 as a consultant. I started as a penetration tester. After that, as a project manager and GRC consultant, and that path has gave me a certain view that helps me today, that I know the compliance world and the technical world, and it really gave me a comprehensive view of many aspects of the cyber field.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, and you know, I've been speaking to a lot of Chief Information Security Officers for the past few years actually, and I think we've had this discussion in the past at one point where I told you I think I advised you to, you know, gain as much as, like, learn as much as you can about different domains within the industry to allow yourself to have a much broader baseline than what you had back then. So I believe, like, you know, having those certain skills and the ability to dive into different verticals really helps you at the end of the day build your career and become more successful in your role. So so just to add a few personal aspects to this call, and just to get for our listeners to get to know you a bit better. So you're married +2, I believe.
Yeah, that's correct. 2 boys that makes a lot of noise in the background during all of the Zoom calls.
Yeah, so 2 boys, and thankfully they're asleep now, so no noises are expected. And I have another staple question that I usually ask the CISOs I'm talking with, and that's about their favorite drink. Could you share what is your favorite drink?
Yeah, I think it's a bit old school, but arak and with grapefruit and a leaf of mint. The leaf of mint is gives it a refreshing twist.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So I was just wrapping up another podcast the other day, and as I mentioned, a lot of the CISOs I work with, they're like single malt type of individuals. This is certainly a first. Yeah. So, you know, the purpose of this call and podcast is basically to get the listeners to get to know you, like the personal on the personal side, get to know the man behind the role. And so I won't be asking too many, real job related questions, nothing about specifically about your current position. I'm more concerned about, getting to know you and your view on the world and your view on vendor relationship as well. So let's get started. If there's one thing you wish you'd known when you began your career, what would that be?
I think that the one thing is the job diversity. There's a big variety of sub-professions, sub-skills needed in this profession. It can be like compliance, architecture, awareness, and technical. A lot of fields that required different skills that gives the profession makes it so interesting, because it's not a narrow-minded field that know only this and this and this, not a one-trick dog. Really, you need to support many business needs, and every business need takes you in a different direction. Every time it's a whole new story, and every time you have to like create a new solution. And this wide variety of skills and diversity really what makes it so interesting for me. So I didn't know it in the beginning. At the beginning, when I first started, it was like what I knew about this profession is what you can see in Hollywood films, like a hacker that sits in his garage and like,
yeah,
boom,
and you see a lot of
green
screens, a lot of things happening.
Matrix figures, numbers. So the reality is quite different than that. It's not a field for only technical people. It's very wide, very interesting, and you can take what you really like into and really have a deep dive into it, because there are many sub profession in it, like integration, cyber integration, and compliance and awareness, and many things to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and this is actually I mean, I've heard that before, obviously. And I know we've spoken about like the constant learning, and everybody keeps learning, especially when dealing with cybersecurity and even compliance. And I wanted to ask you about your biggest failure. And for one, I hold my own perspective about what a failure means, but I would like to have your take on that. So what would you consider to be your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
From my perspective, and it may be a bit naive, but I don't really believe in failures. I believe in lessons, and it's not only semantic issues, really. Many lessons from my own mistakes and from other people's mistakes that in the cyber world that you can read about breaches and things like that. I look at all of these things as mistakes, and if it's failing to like deliver a project in time, it's all lessons to search where was your fail point and what can you do to prevent it next time to happen. So I really don't think that there's something like that's really engraved on me, on my back, that's like a big failure, because I really don't feel there is one. Yeah, I've made many mistakes, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything that I really feel like, my gosh, I mean, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. And, I tend to agree with you. I think a lot of smarter people than I am said that, failure is the best teacher. And you can find this in many quotes from many very smart individuals. So I do agree with you that, failures are lessons at the end of the day. And I think to be wise is to be able to fail small and fail fast. So not to, turn your life upside down. But yeah, that's just my take on it. But, speaking about failures or mistakes or lessons, whatever we want to call them, what would you say your biggest accomplishment was?
I think that my biggest accomplishment is not a real trophy, but as my role as a CISO, a lot of my outcomes are usually assignments to other people. If it's on the physical security, if it's on HR workflows, on the IT, on the development team. So most of my outcomes are more work for other people. And I think it was 2 or 3 years ago that someone told me that every time I see you in the hallway and I automatically smile to you, I have certain affection for you. And I thought about it. Yeah, I have good, even though that most of my work outcome gives other people more work and they are not measured by their goals according to my assignments that I give them. So it's only like extra tasks in their eyes. I'm still able to keep up with a good working relationship with them, working and friendly colleague relationships with them. And it's not only because I'm a nice guy and I love people, but I see it as an accomplishment because that's what enables me to still be an effective CISO. Because when I have a 0 day that just came up and I need the system team to check if it is relevant for us and what is the risk vector and how and when can we implement it, the system team leader or the infrastructure manager will always have their door open for me, and I know that I can on no time get the answers that I need. And it's not obvious because on other organizations, yeah, a CISO is a burden and a lot of the doors are closed because if they will be open, there will be much more work on the door that he will go into. So walking in the hallway without security, without physical security, that's my biggest accomplishment.
Yeah. So basically, to say it in my own words, you're pegging it back to, be able to work with people, and at the end of the day, it's always people and forming a relationship with people. So that was like you just said that this is probably one of the biggest keys to your
Yeah,
success,
you
right?
summarized my long story in a few words. Amazing.
Oh. So what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career such as yours or similar to yours?
So it relates to my previous answer. So the first thing is to know that you must have good people skills. If you don't have good people skills, it's very hard. Now, other than that, cyber is because it's such a wide profession, and you can't learn everything in an early stage. It's not, there is no like school that gets you ready to all possible scenarios. A lot of things can just show up, and you need to adapt yourself. You need to be able to learn, to explore, to be able to get knowledge by yourself. So it's extremely important. Like every day there is a new 0 day. You need to be able to understand where is this 0 day is relevant, to know how to get to understand, to get and understand the technical information. It's a self-learner field. So you need to be able to learn by yourself, and still it's okay not to know all immediately. If you're being asked a question that you don't know, that's something that I learned from you and Iftach back then. It's okay not to know everything immediately, but it's not okay to mislead. Just it's okay to say, I don't know, I will check it out, I will learn that, and I will give the correct answer.
Yeah, and I think I asked another CISO the other day similar question, and I believe he told me that the best advice would be to use Google, or maybe his best guide was Google. So this is a theme I see. The ability to self-learn is evidently
It's crucial.
yeah, it's crucial. It's very important. You can't really get without it. You can't get anywhere without it, especially in the cyber world and the compliance world.
But still, there is a certain shortcut. Not always, but for certain scenarios, good community to be able to connect with the people that in the community that can help you. I mean, there is a community of CISOs, and every challenge that you meet, hi, is there anyone faced with this challenge? How did you do it? Can I get some tips? What
Yeah,
did
for
you
sure.
encounter?
For sure, but this is still learning, right? You're learning from your colleagues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So colleagues and technical Google, technical reading that you can find on the web. And another thing, sit with the managers. Yeah, as a CISO, you can sit all day in your office and write guidance to everybody. But if you want to know the works that your managers in the organization are doing, then you wouldn't know their needs. You will not fit the guidance to what they really need to do, and so other that they will find a way to bypass you if you're interfering, or maybe you're not giving the guidance to the correct problems. So just sit with the managers, and every month or so sit with the people that actually are doing the work, not only the managers. Sit with everybody and learn your organization.
Yeah. Okay. And if I remember correctly, you as a CISO, you report to a higher IT individual, IT-related individual. I believe it's either the CIO or the CTO. What do you feel about the role of a CISO that actually is a part of IT? What are the pros and cons to that?
So pros, I know everything that goes in the IT. I'm a part of the IT management, so every project, every changes, everything, I'm a part of it, and I know all. I'm not a stranger, so nothing can go pass from a point to point without me knowing it. So that's a big pro. And the budget issue is that on most organizations, the IT have a big budget, and most of your systems, cyber systems, cost a lot of money. So in the IT department, it's easier to get the budget that fits your need. Because if you're sitting in a department like in legal or things like that, legal is not accustomed to have many information systems, cyber system, things like that, that cost a lot of money. So it's an anomaly in that system. So budget fits there more. And so these are the main pros. On the other side, there is a big conflict of interests. You are a part of the team, you are a part of the IT, and you want things to get done as the IT. You want to the development you're part of it. You need to deliver things. You need to for the new websites, the new system to come out on the schedule, and you're not objective because you're part of the team. You want that. It's really important for you. You're a team player. So ups and downs. I don't really think there is ultimate truth, ultimate point where the CISO really needs to be. It depends on the organization.
Yeah. And I think also it depends on the organization for sure, in my opinion. But I think also it depends on the maturity of the organization and the ability and the people and the culture. So the ability to work together. You know, whereas in some types of organization you see like natural pushback when it comes to how CISO communicates with, you know, the other team members. In other organizations, more mature organizations, even if the CISO is not directly in IT, or even, you know, if it's a parallel unit or anything like that, so it works better together. Well, I mean, it works good together, and it might also be that, you know, you're able to reduce the conflict of interest. But yeah, I agree with you. It depends on the organization mostly. So along the way, what would you say the best resources? What were the best resources that you've had? And I know you mentioned colleagues and the network, CISO networks. But, you know, anything from, you know, vendors and colleagues or anything like that.
So first of all is curiosity, because due to curiosity, you can enrich your knowledge and give better answers every time to each situations, and good human skills. Inside the organization, outside the organization, with the other CISOs. So good human skills and curiosity. That's the key points. From there, you can go anywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
This time I was able to get it short answer.
That's fine. I'm not here to, you know, keep track on time. Who are the 3 people who have been the most influential to you?
No celebrities, actually. Mainly families that promoted values like solidarity, helping other people, values of actually human values to help each other. That's it. And I saw it from my parents and how they treated their parents, and that was the most influential for me.
What's the one common myth about your profession or field that you want to debunk?
There is a famous meme of sleeping types, and now every C-level sleeps at night, and at the certain point they see the CISO's bed and it's empty. So because CISO knows all the threats, can sleep, and works all around the clock. So actually, it's not true. It's nice as a meme, and it's not true because as a professional, you need to do a risk management. Know you identify your risks. There are methodologies for these things, and if you work by the methodologies, and you have good control for your risk. So yeah, there are still risks, but everything is managed, and if something goes bad, then it's probably what's in, you know them, you know your risk, you know your controls, and if you work right, you have like a certain cookbook for these things. So yeah, if an event will go on, things will not go exactly as the cookbook described they will, but you'll not be in a shock. It's not like a cat that sees the car rides towards him. You need to be ready for things like that, and if you do, then yeah, you can sleep well at night.
If you could, if you could step into my shoes or shoes of, any vendor, basically, in the consulting space, what would your advice be? What would you say to, like vendors as a whole that they might be looking at, or they might be doing wrong?
As a vendor, I think that most vendors, most sales representatives at the vendors are not being CISOs. So on my side, it goes risk management. Okay, I give ranks to my risks, and I have the root risk, I have the residual risk, and that's the plan for me to work to reduce, to mitigate the risks, and that's where I'm going. If something is not a high risk for me, even if it's a very cheap product and its value is amazing, but the risk is not my top concern, I will not go for it. Don't try to ride me with a low cost of your solution. I don't need it. I will not, even if it's very cheap, I will not go for it, because it's not only the purchasing of the product, it's also maintenance, and it's effort.
Yeah,
So if
the
it's not
internal
on my top risk,
cost.
don't try to sell it for me, really.
Okay, so, but, picking up on that, how would a vendor know what is it that you need or not if he doesn't approach you?
Usually, I will approach him. I know not all, but most of the solution technologies. Okay, let's say if I need a firewall, and I know I need a firewall. Okay, so I will probably consult with my colleagues, with other CISOs. Hey guys, can you give me an updated competitive analysis, competitive analysis of the top main 5 firewalls, for example, and I will look at the criteria and I will see what is most relevant for me, and then I will address the ones that are most relevant for me. That's usually I'm going. I mean, usually I'm approaching them when I need, because I know, and I'm at conferences, the world before Corona, on the conferences, I am going to, I'm initiating the process, and I'm asking and I'm learning what are the solutions, and when I need them, I'm approaching them.
Yeah. So yeah, and I've heard that a lot as well. So a lot of CISOs, they prefer to be proactive, and they usually, so the success rate, I think, of a vendor who approaches a CISO without like a warm introduction, or maybe a research, is pretty low. And a lot of CISOs, they go back to their network and ask those questions.
You're right, it is low, but I think that there was once I saw a solution that I didn't knew of at all, didn't heard of, and he approached me from a different channel in my organization, and I didn't knew it. I think most of my colleagues never heard of it, and still I met him, and I really liked the solution, and eventually we didn't close the deal, but it was very interesting for me. Only once, I think. All the rest of the times I'm approaching because I know the need myself.
Okay. So, speaking a bit more about vendors, what was the most annoying sales pitch you have encountered?
When the vendor says that, yeah, we can install the system in 3 minutes, just give me that and that, and that's it. 3 minutes, 3 hours, something like that. The agent doesn't. They sell an utopia. They sell a dream, which is never the real case. If there is an agent, it consumes some resources on the endpoint, on the workstation, on the server. It consumes a certain bandwidth. There are costs to these things. There is no magic, okay? And sometimes sales representatives try to describe it as magic. When it's everyone with certain experience know that there is no things like that. You can't even if the vendor itself can pull up with a quick POC. I need time to understand what would I want to see in the end of the POC. It takes me time. There is no magic on these things.
Okay. So what is it that you are looking for in a vendor? And if you can share a story about that.
When I'm interacting with a vendor, I'm looking for high transparency. I want to know all of the drawbacks, because the drawbacks are likely to come up in a certain stage. So yeah, I will ask for recommendations. I will ask if someone left his product and moved to his competitor. I think that no one really likes to answer that question, but it's still, and then I ask why, or if I can talk with them, to the one who moved out, and I think it's really okay to people to change solutions, but the answer will show me a certain level of transparency. It will be able to gain trust if the vendor itself will really show all of the cards.
Okay, transparency. Okay, it's actually one of our core values, I think. So how can vendors actually connect to you in a non-intrusive manner?
Email, LinkedIn. I'm email and LinkedIn friendly, no problem.
So that means you reply to vendors when they reach out? Okay.
Yeah, sure. I answer them even if it's not relevant at this point. Actually, a lot of times I'm even asking them to give me a certain white paper. I really like to read technical documentations. So give me the white paper. I like to read it, and if it is interesting, if I will, first of all, I will know more, and if I will address you back.
Okay. And I gather that listeners can communicate with you in the same manner, right?
Yes.
Either email and or.
Yeah, I'm friendly. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put your email address in the notes of this podcast, of this
Great.
chapter. So we're almost about to wrap this up. Let me just ask you a couple of quick last questions here before you go on your way. What's the single most important thing to you in your career?
Because the job is so diverse, that's what I began with at the beginning. It really enables me to find my fun in it. One of the things I like the most in the job is awareness, for example. From time to time, I'm I'm doing almost all of the awareness myself. If it is training, like in front, training. Yeah, I conduct the training myself. I'm writing emails, but not like I'm doing some caricatures, and not just like a boring email and things like that. Something funny. I'm combining it with jokes and doing like very short videos of 2 minutes, something like that, that really pass important information in a fun and funny way. So that's me, that I'm going to the awareness fields, but I think really anyone can find what he enjoys and get it together and combine it in other activities of cyber.
Okay. Yeah, diversity, and I can definitely relate to that. So if you had unlimited funds, what would you do with your life?
I'm a geek, so
But first of all,
I
before
like
that, would you even continue working, or you just do something completely different?
completely different. Walking in a way, but it will be different. I really adore Elon Musk with his Mars project and all of the other projects that try to get humanity to Mars. And so I will like to join the effort of getting humanity to Mars, and after that, further on.
Yeah, that's a noble goal. So I take it you've seen the, I believe it's on Netflix, at least here it's on Netflix, the Mars miniseries. I think they just ended the second season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
watched.
seen it, enjoyed it a lot, and I even have a board game somewhere here back, terraforming Mars. And my previous job was operating satellites, communication satellites, and it was amazing. Ever since then, I'm really enthusiastic about space.
Yeah, so, I'm a bit of a geek myself, as you know, and there were 3 books that I read a while back, like maybe 10, 15 years ago. It's a trilogy of books. The first one is called the Red Mars, the second one is called the Green Mars, and the third one is called the Blue Mars. And basically, I think if I remember correctly, it's like an arch story of the terraforming of Mars. I think the story spans across a few hundred years, obviously, because you can't really terraform a planet, in under a
A
few hundred
lifetime.
years. Yeah. But yeah, so if you ever if you heard about that, this is something that might be suitable for you. But
Even recommend over the Isaac Asimov.
yeah,
Um,
well, I think I've read all of his books. So anything from the Robot series,
all
the
there are a lot.
Empire. I think I've read all of them. Yeah, Foundation series, even some books that were not written by him, like by some of his predecessors. So the estate, the Isaac Asimov estate, granted like the permission to write follow-up books for some of the Foundation series, if you heard about it. But yeah, but I don't remember something specific about Mars. So I remember like
no, not specifically about Mars, but the point that human race will colonize the world, the universe.
Yeah. So, and then humanity will collapse. I mean, the empire will collapse, and that's the foundation, second foundation. Yeah. I really enjoyed those books. I've read them many times. So this was about the unlimited funds, and do you have like any specific anything that inspired you recently? Anything that you've read or watched or listened to that you want to share?
Times in my life are in different times of my life. I read different book types. Recently, I'm reading autobiographies. They're a bit old, but still interesting. Previously, I've read Shimon Peres autobiography, and now I'm reading Golda Meir's. So recently, the line is autobiography of very unique Israeli leaders that really made a huge impact on Israel, on the Jewish people, on Israelis. So that's really what I'm reading up recently, and that's inspiring. That's really inspiring because those are people that are doing huge things. Really, it's not the scales. It's the visionary level. Amazing.
Yeah, well, they did have a chance to be, a part of a country that was just recently established, and they were like key stakeholders, let's say, in building up that country. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with my questions. Any key messages or key takeaway that you want to leave with us before we break this up?
No, I just wanted to say that actually I had another interview recently, and when you wrote me your lineup of questions, I really enjoyed reading the questions themselves, and actually it made me really think of some of the subjects and the way I look at them, the way I want to look at them. And in Israel, it's just been the Hebrew New Year, and it's really just in time to rethink these things. And so it really added up together pretty good. So actually, thank you for that.
I'm glad I made you reflect and and think about that. Okay. Yeah, as long as we can educate some of our listeners, even if it is just a tiny bit, I'm happy with that. Okay, so thank you so much for joining, Kfir, and I'm sure we'll see each other in the future. And all the best and good luck.